What's up, everybody? My name is KSaun. Welcome back to the WDL Week 6. If you guys haven't watched it yet, I recently did a small video recapping our supplemental draft. For those of you guys that don't know, essentially after playing 5 weeks, we had a 1-round draft where every single person in the league could add 1 more unit to their team to try and fill that hole that they seem to be missing on their team. So if you guys haven't checked that out, I highly encourage you watching that before this, because otherwise there'll be some spoilers in terms of who we picked and who else we added to the team. It should be really, really exciting. It should add a little more variation for the teams going forward in terms of what they can use. And I can spoil it for you right now. A couple of the new units do get used this week, so should be a good time. Anyway, from where we kicked off last time, after the first 5 weeks, Turambar is still undefeated in first place with 15 points. We have a 3-way tie for second, though, at 10. Spike has 9, Dr. Dickhead has 8, Sandrooster and JEBAW at 6. Unfortunately, myself and Unhindered bringing up the rear with 4 points. However, including this week, including the video you're about to watch, there's still 4 weeks of games to be played. That means a total of 12 points could be earned by any one team, which means everything is open, right? Like, no team is out of the playoffs at this point. It's very possible for a team to still make it even if they're not doing very well. And for those of the teams up at the top of the bracket, they have to keep playing well or else they could potentially not make the playoffs. For those of you guys that don't know, top 6 make the playoffs. There's a number of tiebreakers that we go through to try and determine that, but we'll save that for another video. So let's get into these battles. So for the first battle today, we're going to go over my match, Soldier First Class versus Unhindered Perfect Storm. I'm going to try and, from now on, basically do matches in terms of the most relevant in the standings, I think. And unfortunately for me and Unhindered, we are bringing up the rear. This is the ultimate battle for 9th place that everybody kind of wants to watch. So we'll see what happens. But looking over his team and the team that I have, I said before the last few weeks, I thought I had some rough matchups. I do think I matched up fairly well against this team, just given some of the units that I have personally. The kind of worries for me in terms of, I think, units that could potentially cause me problems. I think Winter Luartha is definitely one of those characters. I really don't have an answer for pierce damage on my team, at least innately. Like, almost every single unit on my team is weak to pierce. So having a really strong pierce attacker like Winter Luartha could be a problem for me. Also, Unhindered's brand new draft pick, only 40 cost, Sosha. I know Sosha might seem like underwhelming, but at 40 cost, she could do a significant amount of damage to my team. So very, very possible he could bring her, and she is definitely a threat. And the last one would be Joom. Even though she is a tank, she does have that Dragoon sub job. So he has 3 units that are able to cause piercing damage. Now, fortunately for me, he cannot run all 3 at the same time. They won't fit the cost limit. So a couple of teams that I kind of expect to see here is either Winter Luartha, Joom Zazan, or Joom Lucia Sasha. I don't personally expect the Fire Mages to come out just because I think my team between Charlotte and Naya is so much better set up to deal against magic. And not only that, we saw last week that those 2 characters really don't do very well against evasion. So if he's thinking about bringing fire, I don't think he's going to think about it very long. I think he's probably just going to go straight up wind. And in the next screen, I will show you what I decided to use against it. All right, guys, so for the first matchup between me and Unhindered, I truly felt like Helena was the answer to this battle, really. The main thing is Helena has a special buff that she can use in her kit that increases wind resistance and defense in a huge AoE. So she can easily cover the entire team, essentially giving the entire party like 20 wind resist, which is essentially just 20 damage mitigation. And that defense can also help just a little bit. I also felt like she had things that were very useful in this situation where she can either run Time Mage, Haste and Quicken, or she can run White Mage to get heals off and stuff like that. This first match, I did opt to run the Time Mage sub for Helena. My thought process was, with this short map, I really wanted to basically try and get Charlotte to take 2 turns and buff before she's in the middle of the fight. I didn't want her to only get 1 buff off. So that was kind of my thought process there. And then in terms of Orlandeau, I'm going to make sure that he uses his own buff right out of the gate. It will give him AoE resist up, gives him nullified assassin effects, AP restore. It's just a really, really solid buff on him. And then if he does have time on turn 2, I figured he would use the Sweetheart Ildira TMR because it helps him get more movement around the map, will allow him to basically just go wherever the hell he wants. And also some unit resist in case Charlotte does get taken out. Like I said, I'm not running White Mage in this first battle here for Helena, so it is possible that they could chew through me, but I really felt like the team I expected wouldn't have a ton of burst damage and that I should be able to hopefully just kind of eat it anyway without a healer in the back. So you guys will see how this first match played out. Okay, guys, so here is the first matchup, and it is literally the team that I expected. There were 2 teams that I thought would happen. This was definitely one of them, so I was happy to see this right out of the gate. So first of all, I have a tracked wall off. I have Glorious Armor on because I thought there was a chance I'd only be able to get 1 buff off, and I wanted to make sure that she had that Protect and Regen online. So June is going to run her Vacuum Veil or whatever it's called. Helen is going to get that AoE wind resist and defense up. It does give earth resist also, but that doesn't really matter in this instance. Lucy is going to run sharpshooting stance, get the missile attack up and the defense piercing. And Sasha pops bells, so she won't have any AP problems. So at this point, I'm feeling good. However, I realized I probably should have turned Charlotte's Limit Break off because I'm not thrilled with this turn 2. I would have much rather her either buff on turn 2, running Kane's TMR, or running up in Lightning Strike. That being said, Orlandeau follows up with a really, really good amount of damage. 5k onto the tank is nothing to sneeze at, and they both tank this damage from June very well. So at this point, I'm feeling decent. Helena should walk up and channel her Time Mage spell. And so you're going to see I have Haste off. I have just Quicken on, which was part of the reason I wanted to run Kane TMR on Charlotte. And then I felt like if Sid hit an AoE, he could get Haste on from his Limit Break also. And I was just going to Quicken people. I feel like I could just blitz them and rush them down before they could kill me. So Sid's going to go Crush Armor again. Unfortunately, does not kill. Only does 3940 this time. I missed. It might have been, she might have procced her reaction ability. I'm actually not sure why that did less damage because I think it did crit. But either way, she barely hangs on. Spiteful Blast hits, not a ton of damage, but unfortunately does slow the Charlotte, which can be pretty crucial. The Quicken is very good. Gets the Quicken on Orlandeau, allows him to auto attack. You're going to see he has 120 AP, so he's never going to run out of AP in this fight. So fortunately, Charlotte procs her Protect Shell regen buff again, so she has all of those things online. And again, Helena is in a good position here to keep quickening the Orlandeau, which is exactly what I want. I don't want her quickening Charlotte over and over. I want her doing it to Orlandeau. So he comes up, Hello Bolt Extreme, really, really solid damage, and this fight looks really good for me at this point. So Spiteful Blast comes out from Lucia. That's a lot of damage. Orlandeau is almost dead, and now I'm starting to get nervous because Sasha comes out and Charlotte no longer has hate. She's taken enough hits that I don't think she has hate anymore. So Orlandeau could go down here. Jamming Dive comes across. He dies. I still think I have a chance here, but unfortunately that slow that landed earlier from Spiteful Blast takes out Charlotte because she's not able to go again. Sharpshoot comes through. Unhindered actually pulls this fight off. It was looking very, very good for me for a good chunk of the fight, and he actually turns it at the end because of that slow. I really do believe that if that slow doesn't happen, I think I probably win that because Charlotte easily kills at least one, if not both of them there. But you never know what's going to happen. Some of those status effects can really get you. So let's see how I adjust for match 2. All right, guys, so for matchup number two, please don't pay attention to this little Discord icon here. This is actually when I was recording on my phone, and I have Discord minimized so that I can talk to Unhindered and get a match code ready while I'm prepping my team. But this is the adjustment that I essentially made going from turn 1 to turn 2. I really felt like I brought the team that can beat the team he brings, and I really didn't think he could change all that much. In terms of like team comp. The only change that I felt like he could go to is a Jum, Winter, Luartha, Zazan comp. So I figured, okay, if I bring this same thing, you know, what can I do to assure that I win this time? The first change that I made was that, and I said this last week, you are allowed to change on-off abilities. So what I did was I brought Oberon's TMR on Charlotte just in case he decided to go some sort of Ayaka strategy with haste, that I felt like if I saw Ayaka right in the very front, then I could turn that TMR on and I could potentially, you know, kind of nullify what she wants to do. The other change that I made was I switched from the Sweetheart Ildira TMR on Sid, and I ended up running the Zombie Rairu TMR. I just felt like I'm fairly bulky, but if I can take guaranteed one more hit and come back alive, like that could potentially save me. The other really big change that I made mostly is just the fact that I switched to White Mage sub-job here. I felt like if I run White Mage on Helena rather than Time Mage, given the damage they did last fight, the damage wasn't insane. So I think I should be able to just kind of like heal through this. If he brings the same team, I don't see a scenario where he kills my entire team. So that's kind of my thought process. The other major thing I changed was I turned off Charlotte's Limit Break. I really felt like that kind of crippled me last fight. Had she been able to get another buff off and just had AP to do things, I felt like that could have made another difference too. But these are the adjustments that I decided to make, and let's see if it works out for match 2. Okay, guys, so next one here, as you can see, Unhindered is running the exact same team. I think he probably felt like he didn't have a ton of options to switch to, and seeing as he won the last fight, it doesn't surprise me that he necessarily didn't change his comp. So June's going to do the exact same thing, get the Hate, Protect, and Shell buff as she normally does. Orlandeau, my positioning is just ever so slightly different than last time, but he's going to walk forward, get his main buff on, and then Helena hits that Bar Aurora, whatever the hell it's called. I love that ability. It has such a huge range of, you know, coverage and stuff like that. So Lucia and Sasha here are gonna do the exact same buffs that they used in the first match. So it's looking very similar to this point. The biggest difference was I changed my positioning so that Helena didn't have to move at all when she uses her first buff. This also allows her to channel Protect. Now, I understand that this is a little overkill because Charlotte actually just cast Protect on herself. But what I wanted is after she casts Protect on Charlotte, I want her to also cast it on Orlandeau. And this was really the only other way that I could get to that happening. So now Lucia pops the Lucio TMR. Now both of the carries have plenty of AP. So now the question is, can they true through my tank? And we will find out. So Helena's going to walk up, channel the Protect on Orlandeau, which is exactly what I want. So both of my characters are fairly beefy, and I do have a White Mage. That's the big change. So Paralyzing Blade goes off. Not a ton of damage. Does not get the paralysis either, but that's okay. I know that I eventually can chew through this June. Shadow Blade comes out, not that he needed the heal, but does do some damage. Lucia hits the Spiteful Blast. This time does not get the slow on Charlotte. So if you remember fight 1, that was pretty crippling for me. So Sharpshoot comes through. She's about half health. And now this is where the big change from match 1 to match 2 comes. Kiraga hits, heals for 4460. And I'm feeling much more comfortable than last time because I'm realizing that I don't think they can eat through Charlotte with this setup. So Lightning Strike comes out, she picks up the kill on June, and now Orlandeau is free to single target hit this Sosha. 84-34 will take her out, and now this fight is all but over, and you can very clearly see that the adjustment paid off pretty nicely. Just mainly the Charlotte Limit Break turned off, and the switch to White Mage from Time Mage, I think, was just a massive difference here. Charlotte catches the Disable, but shouldn't be a huge issue. Again, Orlandeau is sitting there perfectly healthy and should hopefully be able to take her out. So he goes Hellbolt Extreme, just barely doesn't kill her. I also switched up a little bit in terms of runes and VCs. I think I switched one of the VCs to give a little more damage to Orlandeau because I wanted the chance that that move could one-shot. It still didn't, but that was another change I made as well. So Disable is still happening, which is fine. Give another kill to the Orlandeau, get him on that stat sheet. And now we're going to match 3. So exciting that we got a 3-game series. It's been a little while since I won a game. It's literally since week 2 was the last time that I won a game. And I think that might be the exact same for Unhindered. So I'm glad that both of us could pick up a win. But now let's see who wins the match 3 and picks up that series W. All right, guys, so match number 3 here. I made some slight adjustments again. So I switched Orlandeau's Esper to Fenrir because I felt like after winning that 3-0 pretty handily last time, the only 2 options that he could really change to was he could do the other team I discussed earlier, which was June Winter Lortha Zazan, or he could go completely different and again just try the Fire Mage team comp, which Charlotte should theoretically tank that very well. However, Orlandeau is pretty weak to magic attacks, so I brought the Fenrir Esper and I kept that smart coat going to really raise that spirit and magic resist stat on him, just to make sure that he doesn't get nuked in one hit by Glaciella. Because if that does happen, like I'm just going to straight up lose. So the VCs, other than that, I think I pretty much kept the exact same. And then I do believe I switched to the Titus's necklace, which I don't think I brought last time. I felt like going just slightly more defensive into the magic area. I felt like I should hopefully still be able to win because I hard won match 2. So I was trying to basically just prepare a little bit in the other way and, kind of hopefully be ready for both setups. The other thing that I did switch is I switched my initial positioning for this matchup. I basically did the exact same thing I did last time, except I flipped the side of the map because I didn't want to be completely predictable in the sense of starting in the same spot every time. So let's get into this match 3, see if my adjustments worked out or if it ends up biting me. We will see. Okay, so match 3, he does not bring the Fire Mages. He brings the other team that I said earlier that I thought there was a chance of him bringing. So Winter Luartha is scary. To me, if she dies, I think I have this in the bag. The number one thing that scares me right out of the gate is that Joom is way off to the left, and Charlotte, instead of running forward like she's supposed to, runs to the right. This means that Helena actually has to move to cast her Bar Aurora ability or whatever. And now I'm concerned because Orlandeau, if he runs forward, which he does, now my team is split up, and this is not what I want. I want my team together so Helena can sit there and heal them, and this is, in my opinion, the only way I could potentially lose this match. So we'll see how this works out. The one thing that I have going for me is that Zazan uses Kane's TMR and sprints forward, and Orlandeau in the turn order is actually going to go before him, so I'm hoping that he can one-shot Zazan and make this a 3v2. However, Helena is moving away from Charlotte, which is very concerning. The healing power is down, and Charlotte's going to be on her own. So basically, can she live some hits until Helena can get over there? That is the question. The Protect goes off on Orlandeau, which I like, but Stormwind Wren comes out, and Winter Luartha is going to go. That is a ton of damage onto Charlotte, and again, Helena is not in range because Charlotte's going to keep walking forward, so she is very vulnerable at this point. So Helena is going to sit back and charge Protect on herself. So this is all of a sudden for me very, very worrying because my positioning has gotten completely screwed up from where it was match 2. And this is definitely a concern. So Charlotte is an absolute beast of a tank, so she's going to live that hit from Joom. So I'm glad she's still hanging on. I'm praying that Helena can go over here to heal. Winter Luartha out of AP, does a little bit of damage to Sid, but I'm happy to see that Charlotte is still alive. Pops the Lightning Strike onto Joom to get that lightning resist down, and now I'm hoping that he can kill Joom in one hit. He cannot, just barely. Doesn't get the crit. 5780 damage. She lives with 122. So I was really hoping he would get that kill. Unfortunately, does not. And Helena, man, oh man, Helena, you were just sitting back there buffing yourself. Battering Lance comes through. Charlotte goes down. Sid is almost dead. And this is looking terrifying for me. So Joom gets the auto attack. Helena's still sitting buffing. Sid, you need to make a play. Hellbolt Extreme kills the Joom, thankfully, however, does not kill the Winter Luartha. So this is now very, very scary as Helena is still sitting here doing her dumbass buff rotation. Orlandeau goes down. This is now a 1v1, and now I'm thinking this is all but over as Helena is walking towards her demise. And Winter Luartha doesn't have the range to hit her, so she's going to buff. Helena, you have offensive abilities turned on. You have to kill her right now or you lose. Ruin comes through. Gets 4,065 damage, gets the kill on Winter Luartha. Wasn't even close, not even worried. No, seriously, that was a fantastic match. Props to Unhindered. That Helena sitting back and buffing herself over and over and over had me scared shitless. I really thought I was going to lose that match because of it. But thankfully, she gets her first kill of the season. And I get my first win in, I think, 4 weeks. So happy to be at 7 points. Also happy that we went to a match 3. Unhindered gets a point as well. In terms of the standings, Unhindered is still not out of it. However, he is probably going to have to win out to have a chance at the playoffs at this point. For me, I need to win at least 2 out of my next 3 series. And if I win out, I'm guaranteed. But yeah, should be very, very, very interesting. Excited for these last 3 weeks. We've got 4 more matchups today. Let's check out the next one. Here we go. Sandrooster versus Spike, matchup number 1. The first thing that jumps off the page to me that's very interesting, the one unit that I think makes this kind of wild in terms of matchup is Celis. And the reason I say that is because Celis eats Skahal and Silma and Y'shtola and probably somewhat Summer Ketone and Terra for breakfast. I think she just matches up incredibly well against like all of those units. And in terms of Sandrooster, that makes me think that he probably almost has to run something like Esther or Oberon here, which I think could really benefit Spike, to be honest, in terms of the matchups and stuff like that. I could see him also running Agrias, however. Agrias is a really good tank, has a bunch of different status effects. So to me, Esther, Oberon, and Agrias, one of those I think is pretty much mandatory in terms of Sandrooster, because if I'm him, I do expect Celis to come through in some fashion. The number one thing I will point out, as I accidentally didn't put this 40 cost here, but Severo is the new pick here for Spike. As I said, Agrias is the new pick for Sandrooster. And Severo does one thing for Spike, which is really nice. It allows him to play Noctis and Celis together. And specifically for against Sandrooster, I think this is pretty brutal for Sandrooster, to be honest, because it allows Celis and Noctis to go together. Noctis shuts down Esther pretty hard because Esther is an absolute beast versus physical units, but she doesn't have any lightning resist. Skahal has that, but Esther does not. And Celeste completely shuts down Skahal. So to me, would not be surprised at all to see a Celeste and Noctis Severo team come out. And I think Spike just has a number of options that he can run with the Celis, which makes this matchup really interesting. So without further ado, though, let's see how match 1 plays out. All right, guys, so matchup number 1, Sandrooster does go with Oberon. Like I said, one of the units that I thought we'd for sure see. He also brings out Murmur and Lucio. So this is the first Lucio sighting of the year, which is really exciting. So Lucio's going to pop Bells turn 1, get that AP restore online. And Oberon is going to walk up here, and he should get a group buff on. He does. Keen Blade, Slash Attack up, and CT up. And you're going to notice Murmur. I don't know if she has hate on her, but she is split apart from the team, which makes me think Sandrooster could be running her with a little bit of hate. That would not shock me. Runs Bolt Barrage, one of the few units who can use Orlandeau's TMR, so gets a nice shield on herself. And Nasha's going to run Immortal Spirit, get Courage online. And this should be the first hit of the match. We'll see what happens. Terra Slash comes out, 6,400 damage onto Luel. So this is looking brutal for Spike, actually, right out of the gate, because the tank is very far away from the damage dealers. And just because of the agility with Sandrooster's team being faster, they're just able to melt Luel before Nasha's anywhere near the fight. So Warp Strike comes through. Solid damage for the Noctis. What can the Murmur do? Absolutely nothing. She's just going to stand there and look pretty. And Lucio might... actually, I think he's full health, so he shouldn't be able to get a kill here. How much damage is he going to do onto the Noctis? 8374. Holy shit, he actually almost did kill him in one shot. And Oberon's going to go next. This is looking very poor for Spike, and I'm going to chalk it up to positioning. Yeah, with Nasha being that far back and away from the other two damage dealers, and the damage dealers coming forward so much faster than her, I think that pretty much just royally screwed Spike for this first matchup. Defense Destroyer, a cool move. I almost never get to see that. In fact, I've never seen that in my entire life, I don't think. But a pretty cool tech. And I imagine that Oberon might be able to pick up this kill. He has plenty of AP here. I mean, Oberon slaps. Yeah, max damage onto the Nasha. Oh, actually, Murmur might be able to get this kill because she does... never mind. I ate my words. She got stunned from the Nasha. She's not going to be able to get it. But Lucio, like I said, first time Lucio going to pick up this kill. A quick, clean 3-0 from Sandrooster. Not going to lie, not the result I expected. I felt like Spike had the kind of the advantage in this matchup, but I think the positioning error probably got him. So let's see match 2, see if they make any adjustments, and see how it plays out. Match number 2 here, we have an Agrias sighting. That's very, very exciting, along with the Fire Mage Terra and Y'shtola. So pretty cool to see that coming out from Sandrooster. And this is the team that I actually did expect right out of the gate from Spike. The Celis Noctis Severo team. I think this team just works really well into what Sandrooster can dish out. But we'll see if the positioning goes any better than it did the first match. So Boon of the Lion, area attack resist coming up. That's Kingmont TMR, a very, very good TMR. Underused. I mean, I think it's used all the time and it's still underused. It's just so damn good. Magic Burst comes out. Decent damage onto the Y'shtola, actually, considering Celis as a tank. What is Severo going to do? That must be his level 120 skill. I actually didn't know that was a casting time. I thought it was instant. But Candace and Hugh comes out. Does this hit all 3 or does it only hit 2? It hits all 3, and there's a confusion on Noctis and Severo. So, wow. That is pretty brutal for Spike. Similar to last fight, like we talked about positioning error, this might really screw over Spike. We'll see what happens. Shadow Flare comes out. What kind of damage? And not only that, I'm just realizing that Celis never even buffed. So she didn't even get her runic off on turn 1. She walked forward and did damage immediately. So she's doing good damage here. This fight's not over, but not having runic up against 2 mages is pretty brutal. And Agrias is like hard carrying this fight with that double confusion right out of the gate. Meltdown Plus comes out. Noctis goes down. Yeah, this is not looking good. The hard carry for Spike already dead. What can Celis do? I imagine she picks up the kill on Y'shtola. She does. So Agrias actually doesn't have hate here, which is interesting. And he's so confused, he's just going to walk forward and do nothing. He's going to go down to the Agrias. This Agrias hard carrying, like I said before. And man, this is brutal. Spike, I really felt like had an advantageous matchup, but the positioning just really screwed him over in both matches. I do know how that feels. I almost lost that match 3 versus Unhindered because my Helena just sat in the back daydreaming the whole time. Sleep Blade comes out. She's just not going to have the damage to overcome this, I don't think. Judgment Blade plus 13-17. And what can Terra do? Can she take her out? Sonic Pulsar, she can. And wow, a 2-0 victory for Sandrooster. I have to imagine that feels good for him, to be honest, because he was sitting at 6 points before this matchup, and Spike was at 9. So they're both tied at 9 points in the standings. And moving him up is not only good just for the points, but also the tiebreaker. Like I said, tiebreakers to end the season, the first tiebreaker that matters is head-to-head if you were tied with somebody else. So could be very, very important coming into the standings down the stretch. But GG to both players, especially to Sandrooster. Congrats. Let's check out our third matchup of the week. Matchup number 3 today is JEBAW versus Turambar. And JEBAW sitting at 6 points, currently in 8th place. Really needs to try and get a W to climb up a little bit. Turambar is pretty damn safe. And honestly, with a win this week, he clinches playoffs. I didn't want to go through all the math of figuring out whether he had technically clinched already. I'm pretty sure he hasn't clinched yet, but I think literally even like 1 more point clinches him playoffs. So he is in a very, very good position. However, JEBAW wants to be the first person to take him out and give him one of those numbers in the loss column there. So we'll see if he can do it, see what he pulls out. So the new units joining these teams are here: Solir for JEBAW and Camilo for Turambar. Camilo was, I think, a good pick by Turambar, a pick that I thought he might have taken instead of Lastwell in our very original draft. I think he took Lastwell just as a counter to any potential wind units he might run into or something like that. But the fact that he can run a full UR light team in Sakura, Engelbert, Camilo seems kind of disgusting. I've raved about this guy's team like all season. It's just very, very strong in general. But JEBAW has a couple of really nice powerhouses. So Ibarra, for one, is an absolute beast, and I love the pick of Solir here, because the thing about JEBAW's team is that in order to use Ibarra or Summer Jaden, he really kind of has to double dip into like 2 MR units unless he runs Little Leela. And now he's able to run a full lightning team of Ibarra, Ravi, Solir. That's no joke. Like, Solir can actually do some pretty decent damage, and her master ability 2 allows her to guaranteed hit the first few turns, which means you don't have to necessarily run accuracy runes in certain situations too. But just a really cool unit. So if I've said before that our cost limit is 220, that is a mistake. It actually is 225. And the reason for that is so that units like Solir, or I am blanking on her name, the Lightning Pierce unit, the MR unit. I don't know why I'm blanking so hard on it, but they're 65, Alim. They're both 65 cost. And unfortunately, in most cost limited formats, they're basically treated as 70 because you don't have that extra 5 at the end. Well, we do. 225 is our cost, so you can run Ibarra, Ravi, Solir. I'm hoping to see that this week. Let's see how these matches go. Let's get into match 1. All right, matchup number 1. We don't get the full Lightning team. I'm actually a little surprised that JEBAW is running Little Leela instead of Salir, which I do find interesting. He's running Ibarra and Ravis. We're seeing the full Dark team coming out from Turambar. Not a surprise. This team has only lost 1 match ever in this season, so not surprising. And this buff right here is very, very interesting coming up from Renell. This is Marymore's TMR, I believe. It gives Shell and critical evasion up. So Turambar made a note to me to point out this TMR. This TMR is very, very strong. So we'll check out to see how many crits the other team gets up, since he does have this crit evade up. We'll check it out. But anyway, Garvel's going to walk forward, start channeling. I believe this should be his movement and jump up buff. And JEBAW's team sticking together pretty well. Fall of Night comes through, so Ibarra should have plenty of damage. Yeah, and it is nimble movement, so Garvel should have plenty of movement to get around the map. Ravi's going to walk up, pop Charlotte's TMR. I love that TMR on Ravi. She's one of the only characters that can use the TMR to really good effectiveness. And Little Leela, what is she going to do in this fight? Resist magic. Okay. So Garvel going to walk up. The magic reflex from Ibarra. That could be really, really important. Gets decent damage. Honestly, not a ton of damage onto the party. They are looking fairly healthy. Malevolent Lightning. How much damage is this going to do? 5384. Lightning resist down. Noted that did not crit. So that crit evasion and shell coming through huge. Honestly, Garvel could have maybe died without that buff. It's very possible. However, the Steel Heart coming through from Ravi's. Renell taking out her own ally. This is actually looking pretty decent for JEBAW here. But such a huge AoE coming out from Joker. That guy is very 100 cost worthy, but he's only a 90 cost unit. Unfortunately for Ibarra, she gets rid of the charm. But wow, that is an evasive Ravi's. She actually dodged the Renell. That's really impressive. I believe she did cast Shadow Cast early on in the fight. Swift Strike comes through, kills the Ibarra and the Little Leela though. So this is not looking great for JEBAW. Yeah, unless he can get another charm off, which unfortunately can't because he's going to do damage. Renell's going to get this kill, I believe, because yeah, she doesn't have courage up. She cast Shadow Cast instead. Pretty clean win for Turambar here. I do wonder if JEBAW switches up the comp. I personally don't think that Little Leela offered anything in this fight, and I really feel like Salir could at least like offer damage from the backline. Her range on Bolt Surge is incredibly good. If you guys don't know what that skill is, it's like a 5 range, I think range height 2 skill, which has a very high modifier and lowers unit attack resist. So not a bad option. If it's me, I'd probably swap her in for her, but we'll see what JEBAW does and see how he responds in match 2. Match number 2 here. I am getting my wish. I'm getting the Salir swapped in for the Little Leela. So very excited to see what Salir can do. Wish for Peace comes up. So the luck buff among the entire party, it looks like JEBAW is still trying to run just a little bit of evasion with this team, which I find interesting. Dark, notoriously pretty accurate. So we'll see if it works out, but it's also possible it could just be getting that luck buff up to make sure they're hitting their hits because Renell is pretty dodgy as well. So this could be kind of a good move by JEBAW also, making sure that he hits them and hopefully catches a dodge from the other team. So the full power comes up. This is such a nice move for Joker as well, just so that he can avoid that hate. The longer that Joker is in the fight, the better chance the Turambar has to win. So we're going to pop Shadow Dance. Garvel's going to do that nimble movement buff again. So Malevolent Lightning comes out. I didn't notice this time if he ran the Marymore buff. I'm not sure. That did not crit, and that was not a lot of damage. Holy cow, that is incredibly well tanked because Ibarra is an animal. The fact that her limit break didn't even do 4k to Renell is definitely something. So Grand Shelt's protection comes out. And actually, I'm thinking she might have had a health shield. That could have been part of it also. But either way. So Maiming Slash comes through. Decent damage onto the Ibarra. She is not looking very healthy. Yeah, she's going to go down immediately. That's not good for JEBAW. This is going to be pretty tough unless Ravi's can land a charm. Like, I just don't think they're going to have the damage. And Salir's sitting back and buffing. Speak of the devil, though. She does land the charm. So it is on to Renell. I think if it's like Joker, I think you have a pretty good chance. But let's see what Renell can do for JEBAW's team. Hopefully that Salir doesn't walk up and hit her. But this is what I'm talking about. I think she's channeling damage here. She is. She's hitting Garble from there. Bolt Surge, unit attack resist down, takes him out. This is what I'm saying. Like, the range on that is pretty nuts. So Joker's going to come up and kill Ravi's. This is a 1v2 in one way, but it's kind of 1v2 in the other way if you think about it. So Bolt Surge comes through. Reaping Edge. She kills Joker. This is now a 1v1 versus a charmed Renelle. So Lear might be able to pull this out. Bolt Surge comes through. Oh man, she barely lived, but can she kill Solir in one hit? She can't. Wicked Pummel, 3440. Who's going to go next? Whoever goes next wins. Does the channel go off in time? It does. Gets the kill with Bio. And JEBAW gets a win versus Turambar. Well, a game win, not a series win. We'll see if he can pull it off in match 3. But that's awesome. Really good showcase for Sweetheart Solir. And Ravi's continues to be an absolute beast and just a problem when she lands that charm. Charm is the most broken status effect in the game. Change my mind. Let's go to match 3. Okay, so the exact same teams as match number 2. So Turambar, I'm assuming, has made some sort of change for this fight, but we'll see what it is. So Joker going up with the King Mont TMR right out of the gate. Solir is still going to do that group buff, so it looks like probably the same early turn rotations from JEBAW, considering he won last match. He just tried again. Joker just going to get his barrier online. This is the play, though. Curative Field. So, for you guys that don't know, this is 9S's TMR. This is something that I showed off early in the season versus, I believe it was SurfTaco. But this is an AoE charm resist. I mean, a number of status effect resistance and regen, but it's charm resist for like 3 turns. So, not even charm resist, sorry, charm nullify. So, it's literally impossible for Ravi's to charm them during these 3 turns. So this is a very good response from Turambar. The only thing for JEBAW is, can he wait out those turns and then get a charm after is the question. So they should all have about 2 turns left of this charm nullify. Malevolent Lightning comes through, again, no crit. So even though they didn't pop the crit avoid TMR this time, I don't believe, still not critting a lot. He's got to be running some crit evade, which I think is a pretty good movement against lightning teams who are also very crit reliant typically. So, Maiming Slash comes out, does decent damage to the Ibarra. Solir's going to come over to the side and start channeling a spell. Gloombound Trinity comes up, does not kill the Ibarra, crucially. Garble comes up, and the Magic Reflex comes out. This could be potentially huge. Third Eye also comes up, so they both get their counter ability. So, Ibarra needs to do big damage. Counterman Slash coming through. So, I said this, I think, last week, but I find it very interesting. I don't know if Counterman Slash is more damage than Wailing Storm in that situation, or if it's just turned off. I have to imagine that Wailing Storm would have done more, but I guess not. Steelheart comes through. The Charm Nullify is actually gone at this point. The Charm just doesn't land, unfortunately, for JEBAW. I think if that lands, Joker probably just goes nuts on his team. However, Solir's still alive. They still have some damage. Unavailable Pain comes out, though. Ravi's is gone. Solir's got a lot of work ahead of her, and yeah, it's a Curata channel. So this looks like it's probably over. It's a 3v1. I don't know how Solir can possibly pull this off unless she gets a full life. Is this full life that she's channeling? We'll find out. If she can full life somebody, it's not. She goes for the Bold Surge. So she goes for the damage onto the Joker. Chi Shot comes out, kills the Solir. And GG, Turambar keeps his undefeated streak alive. However, we do now have 2 people, Dr. Dickhead and JEBAW, both taking a match off of Turambar. So he is human. It's not impossible. Someday somebody will take him down. Who is that going to be? I have no idea. It certainly wasn't me. But yeah, great series. Really, really awesome. Honestly, if that Steelheart lands on Joker, maybe JEBAW has a chance. But really, really good match. GG's. Let's get into this 4th one out of our 5. So our second to last match of the day is Dr. Dickhead versus SurfTaco. So now we are getting to the meat of the middle of the standings. 4th place versus 6th place. So a very, very important matchup. And I say 4th place for SurfTaco, but really he's tied for 2nd. So he could easily be in 2nd place if he wins this. And if he loses, he could potentially be in like 6th or 7th. Who knows what happens. So actually, I don't think he could physically be in 6th or 7th. I think worse would be like 5th. But anyway, regardless, should be a good matchup here. So Dr. Dickhead, his biggest team that he's been running, again, a lot is Little Ela, Mont, and Helena. Just a really, really solid team overall. Would not be surprised to see that. He also could run evasion, though. I know it's a sore subject for SurfTaco, but his ice team could potentially have problems with evade. I could see that happening. I did kind of luck into a win against him with running evasion versus ice. However, they do technically have guaranteed hits. They're just like harder to come by, and RNA's like guaranteed hit is not a huge damaging guaranteed hit. That being said, SurfTaco just has so many options, and now picked up the Rayches. So very curious to see if eventually he runs like a full water team. I think that would be exciting to see. But I expect Shell or Phoebe pretty much guaranteed in one of his comps, and quickening and hasting a duo, whether it's ice, water, or light. Who knows what we will see. But yeah, let's get into these matches and see what happens. All right, so the first matchup between SurfTaco and Dr. Dickhead here looks like it is the water team coming through from SurfTaco with the Phoebe in the back. This team, I think, has only lost once. It is very, very strong. Agrias is definitely a kill leader, so this team is for sure scary. Dr. Dickhead running with the mages split off and Mont to the left. The biggest question here, I think, is can the mages get in range to hurt those two units before they go and delete Mont? If so, if they can hit him a couple times before, I think Dr. Dickhead wins. If they can't, I think SurfTaco probably wins. So that's the question. So Mont's going to walk up, get the Stone Throw Mastery onto Glaciella, so drop her movement just a little bit. Agrias is going to walk up. How much damage is he going to do? 4K, pretty good. Also drops the defense. There's a defense break there, which is pretty crucial. Halloween Little Leela does not heal. However, Helena does, so gets a decent heal onto Mont, so he's almost full health. If they can keep him sustained by the time they get there, but that's a lot of damage coming off from Glaciella, almost 6K. Phoebe's going to walk up. Is this haste or quicken? No, it's actually Speed Force again. I think this is the second time she uses this fight. Oh man, Mont did not have courage. That is unfortunate. If he had courage online and Stone Throw turned off, he lives one more hit, and then Little Leela can heal. That's not a ton of damage coming off from the Helena. However, Little Leela's channeling the full life. But man, Armor Piercer's just going to take her out. She does have re-raise. This is a very common tech that Dr. Dickhead likes to run. But Agrias is going to go next. There's also a Quicken, I think, being channeled, or at least a Haste being channeled from Phoebe. Agrias is going to take out the Little Leela for the second time. And yeah, it's a Quicken. Agrias is just going to clean this up. This is looking like a very one-sided affair. A quick 3-0. I will say, though, I will point out, like I said, if Mont is able to get courage there, instead of Stone Throw Mastery, he lives one more hit. Little Leela heals probably. And then they're able to do damage. It just buys like one more turn. I don't know. It might not have made a difference at all. Who knows? I think the positioning kind of screwed him a little bit. I think they needed to be just a little bit closer to Mont because they just kind of got there late. But yeah, this is a very scary team from SurfTaco. And let's see if Dr. Dickhead has anything in response for round 2. Second fight of this matchup. So Dr. Dickhead does not change the units in his team. So he does look at this and says, hey, you know what? It wasn't the team that was the screwed up thing. It was the positioning. As long as I fix positioning, I think I have a chance. So Little Leela Halloween going to pop that re-raise like she normally does. And she gets to sit back, which is nice. She's not actually going to walk forward. Helena going to pop the shield and walk up. The only thing is SurfTaco started on the other side this time. Can Mont get forward enough so that they don't attack Helena? That is the question. So Phoebe gonna, I believe, channel Speed Force again, unless he's switching to the Haste Quicken strategy. We'll see. Mont, decent movement, gets the Courage online. It is Speed Force, so not going to quicken Agrias yet. Gets the Indomitability buff up. Agrias is looking very menacing at this point. Little Leela Halloween, though, gets damage on 3671. Not bad onto the Agrias. What can Helena do here? Goes for level 4 Darkra. So there's decent damage onto the Agrias at this point. Is Phoebe going to quicken or is she going to heal? Leap Strike comes out. Wow. One-shots the Little Leela Halloween. Thankfully, she does have re-raise for Dr. Dickhead here. It is the Curata, so it's not quicken. So Mont's going to walk forward. He needs to get out of the way. Oh my gosh. Mont is trolling his team here. He goes Stone Throw Mastery and sits still. He needed to walk forward and get out of the way of Little Leela. Unfortunately, he's like, nope, I'm going to sit right next to you. Yeah, the Limit Break comes out from Agrias, and this is looking pretty grim for Dr. Dickhead. He needs to do a ton of damage in these next 2 turns. Helena, can you pop like a Limit Break or Black Rose's Hex or something? She goes for level 4 Dark Rose. She actually just takes out the Phoebe. However, Phoebe is not the threat. And Mont standing next to Little Leela Halloween is a problem. Wow, she is brilliant, though. She actually walks back, gets a heal, gets out of the range. I don't think that... Never mind, I'm wrong. I thought Glacial couldn't hit them both. Armor Pierce actually does hit both of them, so still takes her out. And Mont is just sitting there doing Stone Throw. This is unbelievable. He's just not moving. He is trolling his entire team here. I gotta be honest, I think both matches, Stone Throw Mastery kind of screwed Dr. Dickhead. I think he has a actual chance in both of these matches if Mont is just walking forward as a tank and doing other things. It seems like that is like the only skill that he wants to use. So I don't know if he's like having accuracy issues and he's doing the guaranteed hit, or he's just on troll mode, but man, that's a bummer. SurfTaco, congratulations on the win. Another 3 points puts him at 13. So he is guaranteed at least a tie for second, if not the sole possession of second. Actually, you'll see in the next match, it's two 10-point teams going against each other. So he's guaranteed tied for second. But anyway, congratulations to SurfTaco. Dr. Dickhead, better luck next week. Let's check out our 5th and final match. All right, guys, tried to save the best for last here. So we have two teams who are tied for second place right now. As we just saw, SurfTaco just got 3 points. So he is currently sitting in second alone. Whoever wins this series out of these two is tied with him. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens, and very important for the standings. So looking at the teams, first of all, the couple new additions to the teams, Frederica for Jesus. So he does have a way to run a couple of lightning units along with one of his 50 costers. He could run a Resnick Frederica strategy at some point. Could be cool. And MaechenX picking up the Winter Victoria. So now diving just a little deeper into that water pool. Already has a ton of ice strength, and the earth evasion team wanted to basically complete that cold triangle of the elements. So a cool move by him. So interested to see what each team brings out. I do expect Eliza from MaechenX. Past that, not entirely sure what I expect to see. In terms of Jesus, I think Dark is probably the strongest team into Machen. The fact that Leela the Bold is basically the most accurate unit in the game, unless you can count for guaranteed hits, means she can probably delete some evasion units, and I think she probably has a good time unless she gets frostbitten. I think that's like the biggest thing. So should be an interesting matchup. I don't want to keep you guys hanging any longer. Let's see what happens in match 1. All right, last match of the day here. We've got MaechenX versus Jesus. Jesus actually running his light team with Ramza, Elsrel, and Fina. So interesting to see how this goes. Slash attack up on the party, defense piercing up for Elsrel. That shout plus skill is so damn good. There's just so many things that buff gives, and it's such a huge AoE. Interesting though, Airstone of Revival comes through, strips the protect off of Ramza. However, Eliza's not able to get bells off. So does this benefit Machen? And Machen actually running Salir, Eliza, Valade. I think this is the first time that he's ran this pairing. I could be wrong about that, but it'll be interesting to see what he does here. Valade, I imagine, is going to go for a group buff here, but what does he decide here? So starts channeling something. Fina going to go for the heal, so Ramza looking healthy. Unfortunately, doesn't have the protect, like I said, but still healthy. Ice attack and accuracy up on the team. So probably a good idea. He probably wanted to buff that accuracy in case he ran into evasion from Jesus. So Eliza gets the auto attack. What can Ramza do? He goes for the limit break. Who is this hitting, though? This limit break is actually really disgusting on paper. Very good. Yeah, because it removes all buffs for everybody who gets hit. Not a ton of damage, but not negligible damage either. However, Bombardment of Love comes out from Sweetheart Salir. I expect a decent amount of damage. Wow, 9402. I don't think I expected that much, but that was a hell of a lot. I tell you what, MaechenX, he doesn't always run Sweetheart Slayer, but when he does, that chick does insane damage. She is very, very impressive. So what's Valade going to do? Does he have a way to heal the team? That's the question. Wow, that's actually a really good tech by him. That's Yuna's TMR, Protect, Shell, and a heal on the party. That's a really good move because it's so much better than probably the heals that he gets in his kit. Oh my gosh, full life whiffs for Jesus. So tries to get the full life on Ramza and it misses. This looks like it's probably Machen's fight to lose at this point. Detonation Blast comes out. That's a lot of damage. Eliza has 17 AP. Maddening Arrow going to take out Elsrel. Yeah, this fight looks like it's probably over. That full life, I am curious to see how that could have changed this fight. In terms of turn order, I'm not sure when Jesus was going to go. I don't know if he would have been next, like if Ramza would have been next. If so, he could have killed Sweetheart Solir or something like that. But yeah, Fina, unless you can pull off this 3v1, she's channeling. Does she have Raise? She might be using... No, Superior Healing. Okay, interesting. So she goes for the full heal, but she should get taken out in these next couple turns, I imagine. Detonation Blast, 5847. Elijah should be able to clean this up with an auto attack. And she does. So, yeah, and that agility down, I always point this out. That Thornlet item, if you guys don't run that, that piece of equipment is so good. I'm actually really pissed at myself that I didn't grind like 3+5s of that item, because that thing is so good. I love that thing, and I wish I could run more of it. I'm hoping that it comes to the Farplane Archive soon so I can do that. Anyway, let's get into match 2 and see how Jesus responds, if he switches up his team or just the positioning. Let's check it out. Okay, so match number 2, this is the team that I actually expected to see from Jesus, running the full Dark squad. And he says, you know what, the Ramza, Elsorel, Fina team didn't work. Let's run full Dark. This team just has so much damage, it is ridiculous. And MaechenX not running a tank here is interesting, because I do think if Gaff and Leela hit somebody, they're gonna die. Like, they just do so much damage here. Whisper, can she get out in front and tank? So she gets a Protect Shell regen, walks forward. And Chi-Bearer coming off from Solir. So positioning a little bit different from last time. MaechenX trying to kind of split out the 2 damage dealers rather than walk forward together. And Little Leela actually has her Courage online too. She's going to be very hard to take out unless Eliza and Solir are able to get AoE attacks. That's the biggest thing. So what is Whisper going to do? I can't imagine she's in range to hit anybody. She's not. She also doesn't have any more buffs on, so she's just going to walk forward. Eliza has bells, though. Has tons of AP, which is much better than last time, because originally she didn't get bells off. Warning Volley, some pretty good damage. Takes Gafgarian actually very low. And the re-raise coming up from Solir, so she's going to be a little harder to kill. She has the barrier and re-raise. What is Valade going to do? He's channeling something. Pretty Paralyzer comes out. Woof. One-shots the Eliza. That's brutal. I don't know if Valade has... Because I think he has White Mage in his kit, but I don't know if he has Full Life. Abyssal Blade Dark comes out. Good damage onto the Solir. And Whisper actually kind of screwing over her teammate here. She's walking next to the Gafgarian. Can Solir do some decent damage? We'll see what happens. Detonation Blast takes out the Gaff. So Solir has reflex. This fight's technically not over, but she's going to probably need a couple of good reflexes. The Curata comes up. Yeah, if she can reflex, there's a chance. Graceful Undoing comes out. The thing is, Little Leela also has a lot of reaction block rate in her kit, so it's less likely that she's going to get something like that. However, Whisper keeps stacking up with her teammates. I expect another Detonation Blast here. We get it. Procs the Courage. The heal comes out. And Pretty Paralyzer is going to come through. That's all she... No, I'm sorry. She still had re-raise. So this is still not over. But Whisper... She has 4 AP, so she can't hit. Is she going to run next to Leela again? No, she doesn't. Okay, this time she does not troll her teammate by walking right next to her. Does she still have hate? Yes, she does. Twin Chi Rupture, not a lot of damage. And I expect Leela to pick up this kill, which she does. We are going to match 3, guys. So I love getting 3 match sets. Really, really exciting. I think this is our 3rd this week. Maybe it's our 2nd. I don't remember. But either way, I'm excited to see what happens in match 3, see how MaechenX can respond, and let's see who takes it. Okay, last fight of the day. So we have Eliza, Fryevia, and Curry. I actually think this is a really smart move by Machen because Curry has Frostbite. If there's anything that can shut down Leela, it would probably be that. I don't know if Leela has any Frostbite resistance or anything, but if he can land it, it could potentially shut her down, especially Gafgarian too. This is a fully physical team. And I think Frostbite could do work here. Eliza always has good damage against almost anybody. She can bust tanks pretty well. Can Fryevia hold aggro long enough for the other 2 to deal damage? That's the question. So Frostmaw Barrage comes out, only hits the Whisper. And so Fryevia's going to get area attack resist up, only on herself, however. But the Frostbite does land on Whisper, so a chance she won't be able to use the taunting spell to gather more hate. And she has 27, so she has enough right now. And yeah, she reaches. So that's actually kind of a bummer for Machen. If she didn't have that, she would have been running into the fight with only 5 hate. And they could potentially ignore the Whisper. And with Frostbite on, she wouldn't really have a way to gain AP. So he does not apparently have the reach or the AP for Frostmaw Barrage. Oh man, this is an AoE. I think Little Leela hits Curry here. Yep, Curry is gone. So they no longer have access to Frostbite. Blind also goes on for Iavia, so she has Slash Tech Resist down. She is going to be pretty brittle at this point with that Slash Resist down, I think. But what is she going to do? Attract Barrier, get some Magic Shield up. I don't think that's going to help her a lot in this fight versus these physical damage dealers. Yeah, Abyssal Blade's going to do 4,700, and this is looking pretty bad for Machen. Eliza needs to pop a huge AoE damage burst here, like a ton. I don't think Little Leela has Courage this fight. Actually, she might. I'm not entirely sure. That's some pretty good AoE, but she basically needs another one of those to even have a chance. Fryavia crucially lives one more hit. And they're still kind of grouped. Can she somehow hit all three of these guys? I don't know. We'll see. So Gaff should go next. We're taking just a second on the turns. Gaff's going to go next. Can he kill her? Doesn't. Eliza, you need to basically kill all three of these fools. You need to do slightly more damage than you did last time on that huge AoE. And what is she going to use? Oh, there she is. Aerostorm of Revival. Wow, a lot of damage onto the Gaff. Does not kill the Leela, though, which she pretty much had to do. And honestly, it's one of those things... Well, it could still not be over. Eliza does have Reflex in her kit. I don't know if he's running Reflex or the preemptive counter. Doesn't matter. Little Leela is an absolute monster. Takes her out. Congrats to Jesus picking up the W. So he is going to be tied for second place with SurfTaco with 13 points. And let's go ahead and check out the stats and standings, see how everything lines up after the end of week 6. Okay, guys, so for the stats after week 6, we have a new kill leader, I believe. I don't think he was leading last week. Actually, I think he was tied for first. He's pretty much always tied for first. But we've got Joker in first place with 14 kills. A two-way tie for second between Astrius and Garvel. We got Leela the Bold, Helena Black-Robed Witch, Terra, Ibarra, Cloud, Eliza, and Ravi's on the top 10 kill leaders. For the assist leaders, we have Phoebe sitting up at the top with 24 assists. That is an absolute ton, and she's getting 2.4 per match. So yeah, that is very, very impressive. Renelle in second place with 22. Whisper, Joker, Garvel, Nasha, Little Leela Halloween, Curry Wazette, Glaciella Wazette, and Vistral bringing up the rear in these top 10 assists. And for KDA leaders, we have a very clear winner up at the top. It is Astrius. He has only died one time, 13 kills, 3 assists, looking very, very impressive. Ketone still in that number 2 spot. The number one thing that I want to point out here, though, that's still incredibly impressive is the fact that not only does Turambar have 5 units in the top 10 for KDA leaders, the fact that Joker and Garvel are 3rd and 4th, and they have 4 deaths, is incredible because they're used all the time. Like, it's so much harder to keep your KDA high when you use them every single match. So very, very impressive. 14, 4, 15, 13, 4, 15. Then we got Leela the Bold, Glaciella, Lorenzo, Sakura, Renelle, and Phoebe for KDA leaders. And most importantly, the last thing that we need to do at this little yellow asterisk tells you everything you need to know. Turambar has clinched the playoffs. He has not clinched a first round bye or anything like that. Somebody definitely can go in and snag that from him, but he will be in our top 6 teams. And I figure at the end of week 6, this is a good point to talk about it, what our playoff structure is going to look like, essentially. The top 6 teams make it. So if the season ended right now, Unhindered, myself, JEBAW, and Dr. Dickhead would not be in the playoffs, and these 6 teams here would be in the playoffs. The top 2 teams get a bye going into it. So the very first round out of those 6 teams that play, top 2 teams don't have to play anyone. They just move along to the second round. They are best of 5 series instead of best of 3s. And the biggest thing is match number 1, 3, and 5 out of your series, if it makes it that far. The map is picked by the higher seed. And in match 2 and 4, the map is picked by the lower seed. So it's actually very important to be that higher seed. So just because you make the playoffs doesn't mean you can just stop winning. Like, you want to win as much as you can so that you have more say over whether you win or lose your match. So Turambar looking very, very good here. And Jesus has the tiebreaker over SurfTaco because he beat him head to head. I'm actually not sure who has the better game win-loss total, but Jesus has the tiebreaker currently as it stands. MaechenX, solo 4th place right now. Sandrooster now has the tiebreaker over Spike because he beat him head to head, so he is the 5th seed. Spike is number 6. Dr. Dickhead here in 7th. JEBAW and I both have 7. Again, JEBAW beat me head to head, so he is the tiebreaker over me, and Unhindered is in last. However, I will say the standings are still incredibly tight with 3 weeks to go. I mean, like, anything can happen, legitimately. Like, I'm at 7th place right now, but if I win and the right teams lose, like, I could be in 5th. Same for JEBAW. Like, all these teams are so tight together, so it should be really, really cool coming down to the stretch to see what happens, see how it breaks and stuff like that. I'm very excited that me personally, I got a win for the first time in weeks. It felt very good. I am sorry, Unhindered. I'm glad you got a game win also. I know it's been a while for both of us. And I hope you guys are enjoying this content. 3 more weeks of the regular season before the playoffs. It's been an absolute blast. If you guys haven't watched it, go check out my video on the supplemental draft. It's really not too long, but I think it's an interesting video. And it's cool to see who everybody took in their 10th round pick. So anyway, I hope you guys had a great time watching this. I had a great time making it. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.